Hello, everybody, and welcome back to KHANTEHNT!
KHANTEHNT!
It's me, it's Digi, and it's Vic.
What's up?
And we're here to talk about some anime. Today, we're talking about the God of High School.
For he is a kind God.
Praise him, he's a kind God, he's a good man. What did you guys think of the God of High School? Tell us all about it.
This was a really pleasant surprise because the reason we watched this show is it's the most popular anime of the season.
Correct.
Usually when I watch a show because it's the most popular anime of the season, it either sucks or is fine.
Yeah.
It's rare that it's good, and this show is like good.
I think it's like you know it's popular, and then it's a Crunchyroll original. So like, and then you see
on a manhwa,
God of,
I think,
like based on a manhwa, God of High School. The trailer, I don't know if you saw the trailer before this, but it's just like it's just all
fighting.
the action scenes.
Yeah,
so it's like it feels like it's setting up for like this is gonna be the new memeable shit Crunchyroll anime, you know, and it's not.
I mean,
it's too straightforward to be memeable, frankly.
Yeah. Well, and it's just I almost compare this to something like the same appeal as watching The Raid or something like that, or The Protector, like a movie that's just like non-stop people beating the shit out of each other.
Yeah.
Not to say that it's quite like that, but it's so fast. Like, you do not have time to get bored watching this show. Like,
I would almost say it's like the hype of a shonen anime boiled down into like just what you like and none of the essential like training elements. And like and fucking around with all these other characters. You know, it's kind of very focused and like get straight into the shit.
Even could we watch the first 4 episodes because they're what's out right now. The 4th episode was by far the most like characters stopping, talking, and like fleshing the out. But even that episode really kept things fast-paced and plot elements that in other shows, more drawn-out shows, they would like stop and like sit on for an episode or two. Were like blasted through, and there was no time to get annoyed or frustrated by it.
Stuff that could have been an arc in another show was half of an episode of this show. But it works because they only.
I think we every time that we think like, okay, the episode's about to end, there's like another scene, like another fight scene happens, another plot element goes on. Like, oh fuck, shit, it's happening.
It's just a show where like all the essentials are there. None of the extra shit is there, with like rare occasions. Like you said, episode 4 was the first episode where it felt like there was anything extraneous in the show.
The whole wedding arc going on.
Just the guy, really. Like the idea that they had to invent a whole. We could talk about that maybe a little bit later since it'll be really specific. But like the concept of this show from the start is it opens with a tournament arc, which is definitely something I've never quite seen before.
Yep.
Like.
Well, I guess, what was that? What remember that anime about the girls using only their tits and ass to hit people?
Oh, yes.
I think that was a tournament arc right from the start, if I remember correctly.
I think that was more...
Keijo? Keijo with 8 exclamation points.
I guess that was kind of the same, but it was like a sporting event, so it was with this, it's like you jump right into a martial arts tournament that obviously has some kind of nefarious alter purpose that seems like it will come to the forefront sooner than later.
Because
like,
the first thing that actually happens is like the president of the United States. Oh wait, that was actually episode 2, I think. Yeah. But like some mysterious political maneuvering people get like hand of godded by clearly the big bad, which was pretty badass.
The Buddha palm, like in Kung Fu Hustle.
That's right.
And
he did like a tactical nuke launched from like a totally separate location too. Right. It's pretty fucking sick.
So we know that the bad guys are like super powerful. They've got like divinity magic, but they're using it for purposes of evil. Our main character seems to have, you know, he is a divine one as well. He has the ability to see the demons after taking the fruit.
But after he eats the gum fruit.
But to be fair, the other characters who didn't eat the gum fruit, I think they could also see the guy's stand or whatever it was, which we'll get into.
I don't think they could. I think they will both end up eating those fruit eventually, though. I agree. I think anybody who's like relevant to the show past this tournament arc is gonna have to eat the fruit.
But let's pause on the devil fruit eating, because first of all, it just looks like it's a straightforward like martial arts thing with like they talk about the main character uses taekwondo, I think. One guy's a karate master. The girl is a kempo swordsman. She's got her own special school or whatever. And so it feels like it's going to be just that. It develops a little bit beyond, but nonetheless, I mean, we were saying that episode 1... well, first of all, episode 1 starts with like an introductory sequence where I loved that in episode 1, we see our characters meet in real time as they all get involved in this bicycle chase of the main character sees an old granny get robbed, and he decides, fuck whatever I was doing, I just made up, we see him do this, make up a backstory for why it's particularly evil that this little old lady was robbed. I will now go to the ends of the earth to get this back. And in doing so, like the other guy who's like cool, he just like brushes it off, isn't paying attention, and gets little bits of it from a live stream he's watching at that very moment. So he like learns what's going on. But the main character, bicycle tire first, smashes into the girl. Oh, I'm going all over the place here, but also who is currently admiring, we forgot about this, stops to admire these beautiful, muscly men and tell them how beautiful they are, with probably the funniest moment in the entire scene, when she stops and just says, you guys are so muscly. They all go, and they all flex and burst out of their shirts.
Well, what I loved about that scene so much is they're setting you up for, she's like, oh, I like I like strong guys, right?
Yeah.
Like we learn in her backstory that she'd like turned down guys for not being strong enough and stuff, right? So she's looking at all these like this line of muscly dudes, and the way the camera goes behind her head, so you see all of them, it's set up so that the bike will charge through this group of muscly guys.
Right.
It's like, of course that would happen. Except then the bike then just clean clocks her in the fucking face. And it's the funniest shit ever.
And you don't generally expect, like, the girl character to get so shit wrecked. And frankly, it's refreshing that, like, oh, thank God, the show isn't, like, afraid to hurt a girl character. Now I can have, like, stakes and fear for her, really, and all that good stuff, you know?
No, yeah, that's a good point.
And so that opening scene, because we see her get her shit wrecked several times.
By the main character as well. So
that's true.
It's not just that she's gotten her shit wrecked by anybody.
And then, it avoids the thing, because also she hurts the main character a lot, but it feels like there's a real push and pull between the two. It's not some, like, weird thing about you can never hit girls, whatever the fuck, who cares? It's real, Aqua, Darkness, Konosuba.
Yeah.
I am a true feminist. I will beat the shit out of a woman.
Energy, which is except that there's actually a straight man, because we have the third guy. You've just talked about the girl.
What the fuck did I? Han, I believe.
Han. Yeah. He is the quiet, reserved, duty bound tank man. Just takes all the pain onto himself because he sees this fucking cancer boy who's his friend, and he's been fucking struggling with the dying, and he's like, if you can keep surviving, I can keep surviving.
Right. We learn the archetypes of our characters quickly. Right. You've got the girl who's in search of, like, powerful men to, continue her school or whatever. You've got the main character who, what did he say his family's motto was? Do what you want.
Yes.
I think was it.
His family motto is do what you want, and then the other guy...
Her family motto is breed.
well, it's funny because in a way her family motto is also do what you want, because the idea is that the guy, her dad had told her, like, through doing the techniques you want to, you develop the style. So basically it's like the style is determined by you realizing techniques you want to use in that moment and then adding that to the style. So, like, it's not really important that you learn the style in and of itself, as that the style is just basically being woke, like being reactive, like flow like water type shit, which is already what the main character just does instinctively.
Yeah, that's true. And I love about her style too, just to touch on that while we're talking about Mira, that we see her, like, because she's a swordsman, and she, like, loses her sword various times, and you always think with a swordsman, oh shit, she's pathetic, but then she just does, like, even more impressive techniques without her sword.
Because she is
fucking
the sword.
Sick.
We could sort of learn that in her fight, that, like, the way she ends up winning in episode 3, yes, we're jumping around a lot, but, like,
she's
fighting a wrestler who uses all grappling moves, and she keeps dodging the blade. But like when she uses her hands, she still uses them like a blade and cuts her. But the woman's blocking because it's hands, so she's like, "Oh shit." I'm just the scene where she got clocked in the face.
We're seeing on the screen here, yeah.
But yeah,
maybe we'll have it playing here. Who knows?
No. But yeah, like she gets stabbed because she's thinking, dodge hands. But it's like, no, I am not hands. I am swords.
Yeah,
I am swords.
And I also just loved, again, on this little detail of how she really comes across. They successfully. There's a thing with anime swordsmen that they do one thing. They cut people real good, and if they don't have their swords or whatever, then they still try to do that. But she actually did something very impressive and really raised my opinion of the character and kind of the overall like martial study, which was in episode 4. So the girl fights with like what looks like a blunt sword. It's like a wooden sword or something. But she's fighting a guy at the end who pulls out a real sword and is attempting to slice her fucking head off and shit. And she's been wounded or whatever. But the guy like swings at her. She like, it's not that she just knows how to use a sword. She like knows the anatomy of a sword and knows its weak points. And she does these specific like hand control motions to like guide the sword in such a way that she was completely unharmed and like disarmed. You know, like she studied the one-sided bladed katana. And I was just like, that's not just swinging a sword and killing people. That's actual like knowledge and anatomy of the weapon. Right. And I was like, that's real martial shit right there. Yeah. I am impressed that they would put that detail in.
I'm sure that there is like somebody out there breaking down exactly like what each move is, because I'm sure that there's lots of like real martial arts moves in this show. Like just the particulars of the move.
Potentially. I mean, some are less realistic. When the man jumped, did his signature triple kick technique where he spins 3 times in air that may not be based in reality.
The greatest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Quite grounded. It's not like Baki where it's like really exaggerated versions of like detailed martial arts moves.
But let me just say, though, the final point I want to make about the opening scene is it did such a great job of making me actually like these 3 main characters, because they like after the guy hits the girl, he apologizes, and what do you think is going to happen? You think that the girl is going to say, "Oh, fuck you, I'm going to pull a Misty from Pokemon. You owe me, you broke my glasses." But he just says like, "No," like, because we know that he made up this scenario about the girl, about the old lady, and totally made up why it was so sad. He tells her this in like a flip screenshot.
A new type flash is the best way you can describe this.
And she instantly goes, "I'm with you. Let's get him." And then we see them on the bike, her riding on his back on the bike, chasing. And now, like, he's got a swordsman riding on his back as he pedals the bike, chasing a motorcyclist. And then finally, as it looks like the guy's going to get away, our boy Han comes to nowhere and just, wha-bam, blast the fucking motorcycle dude off the bike, completing the trio of the 3. Yeah. Because he had been watching on his phone, had been seeing these updates in real time from the live stream. What a brilliant scene. And the thing I love possibly most about it is that there's gonna be no weird backstory childhood friend bullshit. We have seen the genesis of their relationship, and I fucking loved it, and there's nothing more to it.
It's almost just like a sped up version of the first episode of Samurai Champloo in a way.
Yeah,
it's kind of functionally like it's like a heist scene. A heist that establishes characters, or like that, like at the beginning of Teen Titans, where it's like you see the team on a mission and you see all their powers before you really know anything about them.
Right.
They're brought together in like this heist scene that demonstrates their capabilities.
Yeah, because the power levels are pretty crazy. So like in order to understand how fast and strong and high jumping these people are, you definitely needed like they are competing with a motorcycle on a
you
bike.
Immediately get a sense of what their abilities are. You see the guy do his punch and like the dude spins off and hits the thing in the background. It's like, you know, this guy is real strong at punching.
Also, like the physical comedy in there, like the girl getting hit and later she hits her face on like a street sign and she walks up later with the street sign still on her face with an imprint in it in the metal. It was hilarious. That scene was fucking genius and
very detailed, tons of crazy animation. And then it like right afterwards there was a double eye catch that were both cool ass eye catches, man. The art of eye catches has been undersold in recent years.
Some nostalgia going on in there. Like classic shonen, very well done shit.
I would say those eye catches reminded me more of like an Adult Swim show, like the Cowboy Bebop. It looked kind of Cowboy Bebop-esque on the comeback one. But like the Victor, did you have anything you wanted to say?
Well, how about let's just say
like on a bulldozer fucking train.
The point of all this is we're establishing characters to get to our tournament. I don't know I don't think we've covered like how they got invited somehow, because we see some characters say, "We weren't invited, we're sad about that."
Right.
But the others were.
Like
I hadn't even thought about that.
It seems like they had scouted...
just go by it so quickly.
Yeah, it seems like they had scouted out like powerful fighters.
But then it doesn't make sense that there's so many randos.
Well, they all are strong.
No, everyone we've seen has been strong so far.
No, in like the preliminaries I'm talking about.
You mean right here?
Where like there's just so many randos that fuck off
No, I think they're all supposed to be relatively. I mean, it's just like with Hunter x Hunter, right? Like in the start of the Hunter exam, there's a bunch of people who are just like guys in t-shirts. Who just get their asses
threshold. We can just assume that everyone there is over some threshold of power, and obviously they're not the real contenders. But I mean, I'm perfectly comfortable with that.
I just think it's a big shonen trope to have like a bunch of randy guys who are like, oh, I'm the strongest guy in my town.
You have to weed them out.
Rocked, right?
Yeah, that's
level
true.
5s.
And let's talk for a moment about how there's nanomachines are prevalent in the narrative here. That more than just like track your stats, and which they do, and they apparently let you see like the power levels of your fellow opponents or whatever. They also heal all injuries instantly is how it's framed.
Yeah.
Which also doesn't make sense because we see wounds persist on characters.
Highly questionable the mechanics of this thing so far.
Yeah, how did he beat up her wound if
we thought that the idea was they were trying to make it purely video game logic and that you have like a numeric tracked HP value, which I think they do reference at least one time.
But in all of the fight scenes in the actual tournament, they
don't matter. They've never. No, it's not like Yu-Gi-Oh where you have hit points.
Where they establish a mechanic and then they don't acknowledge it at all. Is it just that it
saves you from death or something? Because I
think so.
I think the main character got his neck snapped by the girl in the first episode.
That might have been like one of those exaggeration scenes because she wasn't trying to actually murder him.
I think he literally got his neck snapped because the way they portrayed that was like the nanomachine saved him. That's the impression I got. Was that he literally got.
He did have a brace on his neck after that scene. Exactly. That's true. Maybe you're right.
Watching the scene where we're currently watching the scene where all the randos start beating the shit out of each other, which is absolutely hilarious.
I like how there was a little awkward phase where and go, and the guy's like, should we just punch the guy next to me? Is that what I should do?
This show is very, very good at knowing when to be badass and when to be funny and when to be both and how to be all of that in rapid succession and work. You know, where there will be literally from one punch to the next might be oh shit, and then their level of reactions. Almost every fight scene, almost every punch is animated with such weight that you're gonna be damn.
Yeah.
This is a damn type show. This is a party group viewing type show for sure.
Absolutely.
Play this at your anime club.
You'll have a good time, especially the first 3 episodes.
Play this for the homies. That's what I'm trying to say.
And I won't skip ahead, but I mean, we could just talk about. Right now,
the fucking boob jiggle when she's fucking body slams that guy.
Right now on screen, maybe you see behind us, you're seeing all the very first montage of our characters' powers. Oh, there was Hans just punch and 10 guys go flying. And all these scenes were so impactful. And as suspected, yes, this is the animation they used for the opening. And the interesting thing was, when I realized that that's what was going on, it crashed down on me like a tidal wave of fear that this show was not going to consistently deliver great animation. They'd blown it all in episode 1, this was used for the opening, but thank God that has not been the case through episode 4. It's still really consistent.
This show is almost reminds me of One Punch Man in the level of just tons of fucking impressive animators on it.
Yeah.
There was definitely a fight scene in I think episode 3 that looked like it was, or maybe 2. That looked like it was a Yutaka Nakamura one. Yutapani's the god. He's a god boy. Everybody loves him. Lots of other... I'm not as good at recognizing people just based on the animation. I haven't looked at a staff list or anything. But it's just, lots of unique animation where it's, different ideas of how a fight scene should play out, different ways of animating people. So it's just, you really get... each fight scene has its own complete character because even the animation is different,
Yeah, it's true.
It's exciting.
For me, it's nice. I was worried after the first episode because there's just a giant brawl where there's not a lot of spatial awareness and just it's kind of people, as I described it, wiggling around.
But that was kind of I kind of found that to be the joke of that part was that it's a bunch of, because it starts with 2 guys all in each other's face gangsta type you know. And
but I was happy to see in the subsequent episodes that it does have a lot of attention to detail in terms of where the characters are, how they're interacting and fighting, and it's detailed fight choreography and not just people floating around in space Sword Art Online where it's just 2 things flying at each other and wiggling around.
This scene right here, we've got the dude who comes out with his arms tied and you could see the ground through the entire shot of him fighting 4 guys. Being able to see the ground does so much for your I want to compare this to the Asterisk War because that show also has a tournament arc in a very similar type of location to this one. And similar types of just high schoolers beating the fuck out of each other is the conceit. But this show just does everything right that one did wrong. And, like, making you care about the characters, establishing their personalities, establishing power levels, like, introducing this villain who stomps a bunch of people, and then you see him kind of toying with, like, one of the stronger people, and then an even stronger person, and then it's like, okay, well, now we know what level he's at with regards to all these people, but the whole time you're establishing character details. We're about to get to my favorite scene of the first episode, which is where the main character pulls down the bad guy's pants, and he's got, like... He's sitting
that
behind
great joke.
The boxers.
And the boxers are, like, cutesy. And so, like, he's expecting that he's like, oh, you like cute stuff? Haha, I'm going to make you insecure about this thing.
Yeah.
Then the guy turns around and he says, it's about what's on the inside. And
he's got
a fucking...
a fucking elephant.
Graphic. And,
giant nose.
Yeah. Oh, and I didn't even realize when he pulled his pants up, he said his pants are heavy. So he's, like, wearing weighted clothing.
Yeah, it seems to be,
he's Piccolo weighted.
Goku armor, whatever it is, yeah.
So... Yeah, like, it's interesting the little details that they throw into characterizing the characters during the fights. Because, like, that immediately endeared me to that character forever. The fact that he turned around and was like, haha, bitch. Like, this was a trap. Even my other... And then in, I think, episode 2, in the eye catch, it shows that he actually has, like, a whole collection of cutesy underwear. So it's like,
that's right.
Yes, he does just like cute things. He's just not insecure about it. And happened to be in the perfect position on this day to pull lay ebb and prank on our main character.
Well, I mean, so we've basically covered episode 1 and what happens. We establish the characters and then they fight. It's really just that straightforward. And then it's just how cool is it? Some of the details and the jokes we talked about. Episode 1, sold. Absolutely sold. And now we've got to learn what are the little backstories of our characters? How are these fights going to go? Who are the villains? What are their aims? We're still learning all those things. But, I mean, episode 2, let's see. Oh, now, episode 1 does end in a way that we were a little bit scared about, and I think you owe me $10, if I remember correctly, because we made a bet at the end of episode 1, because they're in the middle of the fight between Gene, main character guy, and Dreadman, that fight just, it gets stopped at the end credits with a big, like, bum bum, God of High School.
Yeah.
And next episode, they're just, like, sitting there healing, and we were like, ooh, is there going to be a flashback? Is there going to be some kind of thing? And we get one, like, 2-second clip where that fight was actually totally undercut and cut off by the girl who was offended by something that Gene had done, jumps up and, like, snaps his neck. And he doesn't die, but the fight was indeed completely cut off, and there was no further fighting beyond that. And we made a $10 bet.
It's not entirely clear what was the...
How did it go after that?
Is it just whoever lived past a certain point gets to continue? I never was really... Were they getting points?
Maybe the show gives a little too little information at times.
They do, because they'll skip out on information, but get into the next thing so fast that you don't think about what just happened.
I mean, that's exactly what happened as we watched.
I really don't care why.
I don't care why either.
It doesn't matter.
As long as the next thing is fun and cool, then I'm happy.
I mean, this show to me, like, there was a moment where I realized, like, this show is, like, woke. Like, it gets it, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because the main character's whole thing is he's like, his motto is just, like, do what you want, right? That's, like, what his parents told him.
Yeah.
And then the other guy, the other main guy, is just, like, basically never give up, you know?
Yeah,
just do what you want, never give up. And in the girl's case...
Carry that weight.
Carry that weight. Listen to the guidance of your elders, you know? Mm-hmm. That's the holy trinity of information you need to get through life. Do what you want, never give up, carry that weight, you know? Mm. So, that was a great phrase that you put up there.
It's a good one.
But yeah, like... So that's sort of like the core theme, and then the enemies are people who have been through the abuses of people around them, have, you know, sort of, they're trying to do what they want, but they're like, there's something that they're insecure about that ultimately is going to have to come through in the fighting, you know? And it's interesting the way that the fights are portrayed in these early episodes, because in episode 2, we have a fight between the Tai Chi guy
and the
dreadlock guy. Which is not a fight you would necessarily expect, especially when neither of these characters is going to show up for the next 2 episodes.
And by the way, for the record, we are now done with the preliminaries. We're in the tournament now, episode 2, and we're just accelerating through it like hotcakes.
I mean, the first round is just like a montage of our guys beating the shit out of people, and then we've got these 2 characters who neither of whom is a main character, so it's really hard to say who you expect to win or lose. And in the end, they both lose.
They both lost, ultimately.
And that's kind of the moment where you realize that this tournament is going to be short-lived and not matter all that much. Like, the tournament is clearly to establish characters. We're already at the point where episode 5 is going to be Brother My Brother, Joey versus fucking Yugi.
And, like, more than most shows like this, that each fight is just either taught you something about the mechanics or progressed the plot forward in some kind of way.
Yeah.
And like the fight itself did not matter. The outcome of the fight was not significant.
It has the opposite intentions of the average tournament arc. Because usually you get to a tournament arc when you're like, okay, I'm going to make this manga last the next 3 years.
Yeah.
I was going to say, the biggest risk I think the show and presumably the manga are running are burning itself out too fast.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's great for us watching the first couple episodes, but I just wonder, like, how long it is, if people find it to be sustaining itself, or if it's running. I don't know. I haven't.
And it's like Hajime no Ippo, where like each fight, every single fight is an arc.
Yeah,
it's always like 4 episodes. You get to learn about the characters, learn their techniques, learn about their life, and you go into the fight, and it's like 2 episodes long, extremely significant. Like, you want Ippo to win because he's the main character, but the other guy is just but like, this episode 2 fight, you don't give a fuck about either of these guys. You have no idea what's going on.
I mean,
we like the Dread guy because we've been endeared to him a little bit.
Yeah, it was interesting because, like, we had the Dread guy's moment in episode 1 where we kind of established him as, like, okay, he's a real ruthless bad guy, and you can't make him feel insecure just by, like, showing that he likes cute shit or whatever. He's sure of himself. And so he's fighting Tai Chi guy, and it's kind of, at this point, a battle of wills, because Tai Chi guy is obviously weaker. However, we see through a flashback that there was a time when Dread Guy got down on his knees and begged for his life at the mercy of someone even stronger than him. And so he is now trying to make Tai Chi Guy do the same, and he's just torturing him, breaking his body to all these extremes.
Presumably, the fact that Tai Chi Guy won't do it makes him reflect on how he did, and oh no, am I weaker than this guy? My will was weak, blah, 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 you know? I don't know.
Right, so Tai Chi Guy, I mean, his whole thing is he's just trying to, like, give himself over to the will of God, basically. It's like, kill my ego, I am no one, let the spirit guide me.
He says to the guy, like, you are no one that I will say. Like, other people he might give up to you, sir, no, you're not worth it. Yeah.
And, you know, so it's sort of like, as long as he never says die, then he's still ready to go on. But we never, we never have to see him say die because main character guy comes in and stops it.
Because like, sure, it accelerates the plot, more things are happening, but, like, I kind of wanted to see the emotional resolution of that conflict, which we just do not get whatsoever.
I think that's setting up for a Tai Chi guy to have an arc.
I think both of them.
Back.
If that's true,
I think all the people who they beat because each of these characters, they basically show up, they tell us what their goal is, what their insecurity is, and then they're gone. And so it's like, they're all in the OP, though. So, like, I have to imagine that this is going to go...
This will be the crew, as it always is.
Right. It's going to be, like... Because it seems like Episode 4 is really interesting, because it seems to be trying to, like, free the shackles on the main characters so they don't have to... Like, they're barely shackled down anyway. Main character guy, all he has is fighting and this tournament. Like, he doesn't have a family. He's just a fighting boy, you know? Yeah. The girl has this whole, like, I want to continue my father's legacy thing, and she was carrying around this sword, like, expecting to eventually give it to a man who is going to perpetuate her father's legacy. And then, like, when she finally loses the sword but realizes that the power is in me all along, then it's like, okay, well, I don't have to worry about this whole looking for a man to continue the legacy. I realize that I am continuing the legacy. Yeah. And then the other guy is, like, got Cancer Boy weighing on his mind. Cancer Boy seems like he might be dying at episode 4.
It's a little unclear, but something bad's going on with him. Yeah.
So, like, I'm thinking the tournament's going to end. He's going to have the money, but either they're going to fix Cancer Boy and save him, or he's going to die. Either way, everyone's moved past their shit, so now it's time to move on to the next arc, you know? Yeah. And in that next arc, all these other guys whose asses they kicked will have to join their team against the enemy team, which is all the suits, you know, the Shinra
it's kind of like
guys.
Like speeding through the first arc of Bleach or something, where it's like, we have not gotten to what the plot of this show is yet. It just has to get these characters in. It has to give them reason to get their powers through the fruit or whatever the fuck
which is efficient.
These powers,
Let's talk about that. But first, let me just, speaking of the overall plot, I just want to say that episode 2 does open with a shot of the Pentagon, United States of America. The President of the United States of America is there, and in walks the God Hand Man from the first episode to do something mysterious. So, and he's the president of the God of High School like organization, which seems sort of like the Olympics, because we said that it came to Seoul this time. In other places, presumably it's another location.
If you have seen the Asterisk War, it is the exact same tournament.
Okay, it probably is a talent scouting kind of thing where like they're looking for the guy with the power.
Yeah, it is clearly conveyed that this big bad man says like, we need main character guy. He is like, his family line is important.
He survived the devil fruit. We need him. And it seems that eating this fruit allows you to see demons. It's an insight fruit. Like Bloodborne insight.
It lets you see the stands.
It might be, it's literally the stand arrow, because the stand arrow hurts you. It kills you if you're unworthy, which was clearly the thing. And then if you survive getting pierced with a stand arrow, you develop a stand and can see stands. And that appears to be what happened with the main character, more or less. Because there are just literal stands, by the way, which appear in episode 3.
Which is very confusing. They have not gone into the what the fuck
I don't understand it at all.
Well, it's like
sure
a
next...
will. I see it as a next evolution, because Yu-Gi-Oh cards are obviously based on stands. Like the conceit of the Yu-Gi-Oh card game is like a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure fan came up with a way. That's how I see it. Because if you read the manga, the way that the cards are portrayed is like stands. Like they don't have hologram machines. It's just imaginary. Like the monsters just appear above the cards in the imagination.
That was an invention for the show, right? The hologram.
I mean, I think when Kaiba does Battle City in the manga, he invents the hologram technology.
Okay.
Because if you remember, when he goes to Pegasus Island, he has like a hologram disc that he's testing out or whatever. But like in the original, on the Pegasus Island, in the manga, they're just sitting at tables playing a card game.
Okay.
You know? But like you see the big monsters. The big monsters in this look like Yu-Gi-Oh monsters.
They do.
And function like stands. So it's like, to me, it's like this is the next step forward from that.
It's questionable. Is it a visual representation of their immense power, or
it's
a little unclear so far. We need more specifics, but we do see the main character literally run up one of these big stand monsters. So they must exist somehow, unless that's a metaphor. Like, because this is anime, sometimes those things are metaphorical.
I think it's just that you can interact with it if you can see it. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I would assume
so. Or that
it
it physically exists. It's just invisible to the human eye.
Right.
It's like normal. The other people are reacting to what's happening.
Everything.
But not
all the impact it had on the environment was real. Like,
it
clearly slashed up the stage and shit. So.
And by the way, just speaking of environmental destruction, I mean, the animation, as we said, is great, but specifically the impact that you see of those big, like, do a punch or do a slam, and you see, like, this, canvas ground turn into, like, rock stalagmites that stick up, just to show the impact. I mean, I'm just saying, I love every time that happens, and it looks great every time.
I think the most memorable to me was when the Dread guy, like, takes off from the ground in, like, episode 3 or 4, and it's just, like, all that's actually animated is, like, his toe flicking the ground and the ground, like, cratering. So it looks, I've seen lots of people taking off and cratering the ground. I've never seen where just a flick of the toe did it. And it's like, he pauses. It's like you see the crater before he takes off. So it's like,
ooh, that's
boom, and then he's gone. And there's so many impactful moments. There's one part where somebody drops, like, does a leg drop on somebody, and, like, the leg goes up, and there's, like, a whole, like, 2 seconds of, like, the fabric all moving on the leg right before it comes down. So much impact. So much thought put into the action animation.
It's a joy to watch a lot of the time, honestly. So it's fucking good. Yeah. And, well, let me see here. I mean, so we pretty much covered episode 2, which ends with the Tai Chi guy fights Dreadman. Tai Chi guy's getting beat up. Jean jumps in. So our character just jumps in the middle of their fight.
Right.
Interrupts it because Tai Chi is getting absolutely obliterated. Like, both his arms are broken visibly.
Yep.
And so he jumps in. So, okay. And then the staff members jump in and they stop this from happening. So now the consequence of that is, now there will be a penalty imposed on Jean for interrupting the tournament, and both the other guys have apparently lost the will to fight, so they both lose. Which is weird, but okay, fine. So that it's been decided the next episode what they must do.
It's the will to fight, right? That's the real theme. Is like losing the will to fight is what makes you lose. It's going hollow.
That's what happened to the.
If you go hollow, you lose, and so it's Dark Souls rules.
That's true. That's true. So it's established that the thing that you must do, main character, is you are going to fight one of our staff members, and if you win, then you will be allowed to continue in the tournament. And on the way out to go home and heal, he is given a basket of fruit, which looks totally normal, and he's eating a banana. Very phallic. This is a repeating thing with this character.
He loves phallic objects.
He is gay.
In his mouth. That is true.
So it looks totally innocuous, but he goes home, he bites into a peach, he's eaten like the whole thing, and then he starts coughing up blood and dying.
You shouldn't have never eat the peach. If you're gay, you stick to dick. You don't go for
that's
the
right.
fucking peach.
It's right. It makes sense. And so then begins his, I'm passed out, I will now be dealing with this while other characters are doing other stuff. And something happens while he's passed out, I think. Was there like another fight that happens then? Let me see. I think that was when Han had his fight against Bookman, I believe was while he was passed out. Yes, because then after that, Gene shows up at the very end of that episode and continues. So let's talk about that fight. This is the episode where we learn about Han's backstory. Han being the karate slow but steady. Oh, and again, I don't think we talked about how he has a million different jobs, like Uncle Ruckus. He is the Uncle Ruckus of this. He's working everywhere.
We first see him pretty cool, like Sasuke. You know, like he fulfills that role of being the quieter, more contemplative guy. To like main guy's Naruto.
I mean, personality-wise, he's nothing like Sasuke.
But I'm saying,
I get what your point is.
As a trio,
the main character is the red guy. He's the blue guy.
Yeah, he's the blue guy. He is a great blue guy.
I like him as blue guy.
Well, I mean, he's just like unstoppably good-natured. Like.
Let's talk about in the fight, just things are happening, and the first thing that happens is his opponent charges in, slips and falls, he's got a metal bat, and Han rushes in, we see a clang, and then we cut to, the metal bat has collided with Han's head, because Han had stopped to just reach out and help the guy up, because, you slipped, it wouldn't be fair to hit you. I mean, right then and there, what a fucking amazing guy.
Yeah, and that match, it's funny because it really shows again how like this show's mentality is like mindset is everything, because the Bat guy is clearly more skilled than him than our boy Han. However, he's not really landing hits, and Han has endless defense. Like he has endless stamina. That's what I mean to say.
Right.
So like, it's like I can run out your stamina first, and like obviously if he keeps launching attacks forever, he was gonna slip up, which happens, and Han does not take advantage of the slip up because he sees it as like, well, that wouldn't be fair.
Yeah.
And so what ultimately like he beats Han turns the tables, he beats the shit out of the guy, he goes into a fucking fugue state, which is like the coolest shit ever.
Just pause. The guy fights with a metal bat. My favorite clip of animation is this guy does this like 7 stab instantly with my bat thing. By the way, the guy reads a book while fighting the whole time, which is pretty cool. Yeah. But that guy obviously is going to be a minor character. I can already tell.
He's an otaku boy.
But he comes up with the bat to do another one of these dash things. There is an amazing cut of animation as Han crushes the metal bat with his fist, and it just explodes it. And then you're like, oh, the tides have turned. But no! Book Guy is like, it's time to kick it into high gear. And he turns it into a slugfest, and the two keep going. Like, I just love, when you think the fight's over, that's when he bites down, and they dig in deeper and keep fighting. That was the best fight in the whole fucking thing.
The fucking look on Han's face, where he literally isn't thinking. He's just throwing punches. Yeah. Like, he's gotten to this point.
He has gone like, beast mode.
As soon as he realizes, like, okay, like, this is what you need to do to win. Like, this guy's gonna fuck you. Because he doesn't, he, like, swats the hand away. He's like, don't help me up, fuck you. And so he's like, all right, then. And just goes in. But, like, what ultimately decides the match is, like, he's beaten up Otaku Boy. Otaku Boy's coming back, and he's, like, ready for the next swing. And he just says, it's too much effort, and just falls over it. It's like,
Battle of Wills.
Too much effort.
That's what it comes down to. Yeah. That was an amazing fight. I absolutely loved it. And I don't know. That was the highlight of the entire thing for me.
The best scene in the whole show.
And then I gotta love the little tease they do. I forget what it's called. There's like the 4 Chinese animals or whatever. That's like a thing that you always see in Eastern stuff. There's like the lion, or there's the tiger, the turtle, the something. Right. And he did 3 of those attacks. And he's about to do, like, the final 4th one, but the guy falls down. It's exactly like when in Enies Lobby, Luffy does gear second, beats Bluno, and then Bluno looks like he's still standing. Luffy's about to activate the thing. We've never seen gear third, but then Bluno falls down, setting us up for, well, what was the next move? I want to see the ultimate move. What's that? So I want to see that fucking move, whatever it is.
More classically, Escryad erupting first bullet.
That's true. That's true.
And you're like, I am so waiting for that last bullet. And then that last bullet is fucking insane.
And I just wanted to say that I absolutely...
Those are the levels of Christ consciousness. The 3 different bullets.
Whatever. Yeah.
That was solar consciousness. I've learned is another term for that.
That's great. That's like a fucking solar consciousness.
Yeah, we have whereas Christ consciousness is like, oh, I'm at this level of Christ consciousness. Solar consciousness is like the separate. Like, it is your separate solar consciousness.
Your blue-haired soul, not solar as in the sun.
S-O-L-A-R, yes. Okay. But it is your other consciousness is your solar consciousness, the one that's in tune with God and shit.
Okay.
So your Christ consciousness would belong to your solar consciousness.
Getting into spirit science.
Okay, well, in any case...
solar consciousness is a Black Israelite thing.
Oh, really? Good. Well, that's why I'd be into it. The only other thing I wanted to say about that was I really like the implication that, so the guy we see, I think at the beginning of episode 3, we see Han with his like sick, cancer-ridden buddy or whatever, and specifically it's his friend. It's not his brother, not his sister, not his dad or anything like that. It's his friend, and it is to support his medical bills pretty clearly. That's why he works all these different jobs. And it's also implied that like Han's very reserved, but he does have these fighting techniques. It seems to be implied that he like followed this guy, they were buddies, and that he like learned his fighting style from this guy. Okay. It looked like he was like the tougher of the two, but like it's a very interesting concept to think that like our character in the narrative is like possibly the weaker of 2 characters, and I mean maybe he'll become stronger. A bit like Frog from Chrono Trigger, who is like this weirdo loser who follows around his like swordsman master, and then over the course of the game, Frog it turns out Frog was the legendary samurai, despite being a loser and also a frog. Even despite that, he became the stronger of the 2. But Han being set up as like the tragedy of like your stronger friend being debilitated and still alive, but made like a shell of his former self is very compelling to me. Because like disability and disease decaying at people who are otherwise strong and powerful really gets to me. And in the ending credits, I believe it's the ending credits, we see flashbacks. We can see like previous versions of all the characters, and you can see that character like happy and healthy walking with Han. Right. Every time I see that, I'm like, fuck, man, that's fucked up.
We got to see more of the girl's fucking adorable ass younger sister too.
Yeah. I mean, the family's cute.
She's like just suddenly around in episode 4.
Wasn't that her cousin? I thought that was her cousin.
Oh, that is her cousin technically. I think.
Whatever. They lived
because together. It was she was with her uncle because her dad died or something like that, right?
Yeah, definitely. No mention of the mother, but whatever. I guess that don't matter.
Moms, it's anime. They don't exist. There's no anime moms.
So so to talk about episode 4 then, because.
Okay, can I just say, episode 3 ends with Jean then shows up after that fight, and the stand battle happens, and Devil Fruits now exist, and and Jean, like, he survives long enough to not die instantly. Clearly this was all set up by the big bad to give Jean, like, stand powers, and he passed the test, he didn't die, so that's there now, and cool, stands are a thing now.
Might I add, going back to the previous episode with Legman and his Kiki Boy stuff, beating the shit out of Tai Chi guy, he was about to reveal his stand in that fight.
You're right.
When it got interrupted by... What's the name?
That's a great point. Jean.
He came in blindsided Kickman before he could reveal his stand, but it was coming out.
You're right, because we saw the smoke and mist come out.
The black smoke is what indicates that. And it's sort of like you see his black smoke stuff, but you don't see his stand at all. Like that could have been it was coming out.
You're right. They clearly undercut that on purpose for this. So that even more implies that guy's not done. He'll be back.
Definitely not.
He definitely seems like that. Yeah. So, but there's a question now because it hasn't happened yet, and we see like the first clear, real big usage of like someone's stand in episode 4 to try to fight, and they fight him again. But like, will our other characters develop these kind of stands as well? Will our main character even do it?
It's interesting to note that the character who does it in episode 4 does not seem to be physically strong at all.
Right, he seems weak as hell.
Can use a stand, but no physical strength. So it's not just fighters who can do it.
I'm wondering if
it really is devil fruit like.
If that guy's placement because the kick guy is like seems to be a prisoner and like or something. I don't know why his arms are bound, but like
they said he was from like what's the word, like a penitentiary school. Like,
but he
the
seems
school
like someone
is a jail.
That the higher ups like
that's right.
Like they deliberately place this guy in the tournament.
Yes.
And I think it's because he has that power, so automatically he will win if someone else doesn't have that ability.
That's
true.
What you're saying. Yeah.
So that's why he kind of was just like knocking it all out on the first go.
Exactly.
Like, all of this whole tournament was just a facade for finding out who could use Devil Fruit.
Exactly.
I think that's exactly right. Yeah. The tournament doesn't matter at all.
Like,
so,
I wonder
the day,
if the match hadn't ended the way it did, would this have been the only match? Like, was this all just to get these people in this building, you know?
I think that's pretty clear.
Or at least was he supposed to just, like, pussyfoot around until the final round of the tournament, and then, like, if that guy wasn't strong enough, then it's just like...
Then we'll just try again. Oh, that actually makes a lot of sense, because... Right, the whole conceit is that they travel from place to place. This is like an institution, the God of High School, that goes to different locations. Clearly, they're trying to find the strongest fighters in different locations to recruit them, or
so ultimately, this will all lead
overthrow
to
the United States of America.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I wonder if the real focus is the next tournament, or like the overarching winners of all the tournaments, some shit like that.
Like this was just the this was just the local inner high. We have to go to the national inner high.
Well, let's talk about the speaking of the overall plot again. So there's that political thing that like big Satan-looking bad guy is doing, but there's a separate one that we haven't seen him involved with, which is what happens in the 4th episode, or that guy is involved with. That's like this KKK-looking cult group that's doing something. We really don't know anything about what they're trying to do, but we do know that they wanted the sword the girl had because they seem to think that it's some sort of sacred or important artifact. Right. We have no proof that it is necessarily. Maybe it's...
I think the purpose of the sword was to be like the shittiest sword possible, so you have to train that much harder to learn.
Well, and it could be like a facade to make people think that the sword is significant,
right? Exactly,
and because their technique is cutting without a sword.
Mysticism.
It's like if
this show's message is like the strength is within you, so like it only makes sense that be the case.
From their perspective, if you have a secret technique, you're trying to hide it. The technique is cutting without a sword,
right?
You should make it look like the wooden sword is doing the work, and you are not.
Yeah, all the best moments of Swordsman Girl are when she loses the sword and does sick shit anyway. Yeah. And now she has lost the... Actually, we'll talk about the episode, but at the end, they like beat up the bad guy. The episode ends with the guy popping his head off the car and saying, I got the sword anyway, bitch! I'm out of here! And speeds the fuck up.
That was great.
After like getting fucking wrecked, he's fine. It just drives off in his fucking coupe.
Like the joke of that moment was just to show that like this guy is like, even after getting his ass kicked, because he got the sword, he's like so confident he won. That, he doesn't feel any like guilt or remorse over having lost. He's just like, I still won.
That guy, by the way, imagine someone doing he's like a famous like TV actor. So imagine like, I don't know, who's that? Howie Mandel, who just like steals your sword.
Was this guy? This was my biggest problem in the show so far. Is
TV
episode
presenter.
4. I don't know if I fucking lapsed. If I was too busy typing a tweet.
Me and you were talking at the start of the episode. We missed. Like,
this is actually fascinating and does tie into this whole super fast-paced thing. The episode 4 opens with like a 1 minute long scene of the characters like talking. They're walking around outside or whatever. Oh, they're talking about how the next match is Han versus Mira, our two main characters. Yeah. The tournament's gotten to this point. They're gonna fight next. Like. In like 2 seconds, a car pulls up, a guy steps out, kneels in front of Mira and says, Mira, I love you, please marry me. Cut to opening credits. And then the next scene is she, like, it's not discussed. She has accepted, and we are getting married, like, today. And I was like, whoa, I didn't even expect this to happen.
So I was really fucking confused because... When you first said to me, who was asking you what the fuck was going on, like, oh, that's the guy who just asked to marry her. I assumed that this had happened in a previous episode and I had forgotten because the guy looks like one of the black suit guys. Like, he's wearing kind of a black suit.
Yeah, he does.
So I just thought he was, like, involved in the tournament in some way because... No. Why would some random fucking new character get introduced for this very bizarre purpose?
The cult had been introduced, so we'd seen the cult, and
we
it's
hadn't
later
seen
revealed
him with the cult yet.
That's true.
It's just at the beginning you're like,
maybe if we look closely at that scene, you'd see someone whose silhouette hairstyle matches, you know, the way they do sometimes.
I mean, they said that he was a swordsman, you know.
Yeah.
Like he was a celebrity sword fighter, I guess.
Right.
I just thought it was so like we were so deep in by episode 3 already to like we've just introduced stands to the picture.
Yep.
We've got all these black suit guys who have something going on with the main character. We've got, like, we're setting up for the match between the other two main characters. And then we, like, totally go off to talk about this girl getting married for a while. And obviously it plays into the themes of her character. But, like, the actual mechanism of making that happen being that a random dude shows up with lots of money and just says, I want to marry you out of the blue. Now, of course, we do know that the reason this all happened so fast is that he is just after the sword slash style.
It's all related to the overall.
She is just after somebody who will promote the sword slash style.
Yeah.
So it's basically a business transaction.
Correct.
But, like, it feels so weird because you feel like you're almost watching a different show for, like, half the episode. And then finally, when, like, all the dominoes start falling, it's like, oh, okay, we're watching God of High School, you know? Like, it was just, I guess, it was somewhat frustrating because it didn't feel like it was introducing new things to her character. It was reminding us of the things we had seen so they could resolve it.
I feel like we've covered her entire arc, and that's what that episode was for. And compared to how most shows do that, I will happily take half and 3/4 of an episode.
It kind of saved it because I mean the episode felt like it was going to end, and like there was a part where you were like there better be a fight. Like, there better be a fight to justify this, because it felt like we were at the end. Mm-hmm. And there's a moment where you think there's not going to be a fight, because they just kind of kick the guy's ass.
Yeah.
Then, unexpectedly, he uses a stand, everything gets crazy, there's a little bit of a fight, and it's like, all right, that was way more satisfying. But then, there's a whole other Han fucking quarter of the episode. Yeah, Han fights, we find out Han's fucking, friend is in the hospital, is like dying, and he goes fucking beast mode. He beats up people at work so that he can get himself in the mindset. So he knows that he's gonna fight his friend, and he knows that she's been wounded across the fucking gut. So our main character shows up to see the fight, and he's just going in, targeting that spot. We see some amazing, just beating up that bitch's shit.
One of these detailed fights of Han, one of our beloved characters, like my favorite character, basically beating up the girl who we saw get totally fucked, and
aiming
who we've also
liked, and pounding on it incessantly.
Clearly going for it on purpose to fuck with her because he knows that she's weak there. Jesus, that was fucked up.
It's a brutal fucking. It's like what else could there have been for someone so lovable to have done?
And we're just left there.
Truly be like,
I love this. I love that they just left like Han, who everybody likes so far. He's been the sweetest, nicest character, has done nothing but good things so far. And those characters we beat up, he previously they were taunting him, and were even mocking his sick, dying friend. And they literally said, I hope he dies. Can't wait for him to fucking die. And he's just like, hey, have a great day, I'm just doing my job here, man. Because I feel like up until then, he had nothing to, or he had things to lose, so he didn't want to risk it. Now, I feel like either the character died, so he's gone full sicko mode, just doesn't care, and he wants to hurt people.
I think that's what it is.
Or the other way they could take it is, that we talked about before, that the guy's condition has gotten more serious. Now he has to win the tournament to get the money to save his life.
I don't think he'd be going beast mode if he didn't think there was still a chance.
He might just give up if he died or something. Who knows?
Either way, he'd just go fuck off and do something else.
He's become the Sasuke he was destined to be.
Yeah,
that's true.
He has gone full blue.
They say something like the angriest or the saddest people were the people who used to love the most strongly, and then had that broken or something.
Yeah.
Now he's lost it. He knows he can kill.
The truth exists beyond the gates.
What's that from?
Darker Than Black. The OP.
I'm super invested in Han's little mini arc here. Because he's like my favorite character. I want to see how he resolves this. Jean beats some sense into him. I think this is literally the finals. If I'm following the narrative correctly.
It is the finals.
Just blew right
That's
through.
Why I'm saying they were trying to they did an amazing job, honestly, of ordinarily, Joey versus Yugi, right?
Yeah.
They'd be setting up, the whole arc is all built in a way to set up to it happening.
Yeah.
And then it's like a 2 or 3 episode fight. Everybody's fucking crying. It's all this shit. And it's this show got me hyped for the fight between these two guys before I even knew it was going to happen.
Yeah.
It's they set you up and they're they tell you oh yeah, this is going to be the finals bracket. And then you watch him beat his own friend in her wound for a minute. And you're like, whoa, holy shit. Kick his ass. He had to bring that nigga to his senses. Damn.
And I mean, we've got, Jean's going to win. I mean, he's the main character. It's hard to believe that Han would win. But Han has that secret fourth move we haven't seen yet. Maybe he'll come from behind and somehow win or activate his stand or...
It's going to be brutal. It's going to be a fucking...
I cannot fucking wait because these guys are both tanks. I mean, Jean's a dodgy boy, but Han is slow and steady. I want to see this fucking fight. I'm super fucking psyched for it. And that was we're past episode 4. Next is episode 5 out of 12, presumably. Jesus Christ, we're accelerating fast.
This show will get more seasons.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so.
Well, I guess we need to know about how long is the manhwa and like.
Yeah,
I think it's still going,
super long or still going, or is it like more focused than that?
I'll look into it. I'll look into it.
I guess I was thinking of this as like, it could be like something like Bleach where we have not gotten to the plot yet, and then once we get to the plot, it'll be clear that it is something that can go on for a while. Right now, it feels like, how the fuck could this last, be as long as a shonen thing? I think it's going to fundamentally change once this tournament is over.
I agree. I think it'll become like JoJo, and there will be like some quest, and they'll use their powers to pursue it in some way, and the tournament was just a means to get there.
I just really hope that Israel is involved.
Yeah. Me too.
Because America's already involved. Like, we have the Pentagon.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta say, though, what the fuck did this have to do with high school in any way?
Well, they're all high schoolers.
They're high schoolers,
but
as I understand
they have not even said that they are high schoolers, and most of the characters do not look or act
We have spent no time in high school. We spent it all outside.
We have not seen school. The one guy is working really like 5 jobs. There is no mention of high school anywhere.
This show has the least high school of any anime I've ever seen.
I think it's the title. I think it's that the main character and the others, they are wearing high school uniforms. That is clearly a high school uniform, which brings me to the topic I wanted to talk about, which was just character designs quickly.
But like, is Kickman a high schooler?
Which one's... yes.
He doesn't look like a high schooler.
I know he doesn't look like it. They specifically said he goes to like a... whatever it was, like a jail school. He goes to prison school. Oh my God. Yeah. It's like a penitentiary institution or whatever.
Any fucking jacked 18-year-old is not going to look like
But here's the classic anime shit where it's like high school age characters that
when you're making a show about high schoolers, you have to address why are high schoolers the target of this subject.
Yeah.
There are surely 25-year-old people or 20-year-olds who are like physically stronger, more developed, could use stands more safely. Why is it high school? There has been no attempt to address that question.
You know what I think it is? Here's my theory. It's because you got to start them young. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah. The Jedi rule. You got to get them in while they're young.
Well, everyone's in their peak physical condition.
It's funny that you said the Jedi rule because I'm thinking like, if you want to psychologically manipulate and ruin someone, and that is exactly what the Jedis do. So they are groomers. The Jedi are child groomers.
That's one perspective.
I mean, look, they took a bunch of children, taught them weird shit, and then got them all killed.
That on purpose, though. Things went wrong in the plan somewhere. There were good intentions.
They trained them to be sexless monks, space monks, from the age that they're like 8.
I don't think that was well balanced. I agree. That's not the perfect way to live your life. Luke fucked after he became a Jedi. He had at least one kid, I think. Yeah. Okay, character design. Let me just say, main character has a bra on his head, looks weird, and he had it, the first scene, he's had it since he was like 5 years old. He's had that same thing on his head. I wonder if there's going to be some like deep... my grandfather gave this to me because there's been no backstory as to why.
I think that's just it's just anime rules. It's just one of those head things.
I wouldn't be surprised if his logic is that he wants to be able to sleep anywhere he goes, and so he has to have something to block it out.
So he's got that Goku lazy energy kind of thing going on.
But I think it's more like he probably sleeps in like 15-minute bursts every once in a while. You know what I mean? Like just bam, like just pass out for a bit.
There's no way they're going to explain it.
No, it's not going to be addressed. It's some Digimon shit, but it's worse than Digimon shit. It's not funny. It's not... Okay, like, you know what? There is another character in anime who wears a literal sleeping mask over his head. You know who it is? Aokiji from One Piece, whose motto is lazy justice.
Lazy justice.
His whole thing is that he sleeps and he's lazy. This character, like, he sleeps around a little bit. One Piece is like 40% a specifically comedy series, and I'm just saying this design is weird. It's gonna be weird as long as this character exists. I would have gone with something else.
Is it just the face mask that bothers you about him?
Yes. Everything else... He also does have new type eyes of some kind, which is unexplained.
I like the weird eyes.
No other character has that, but...
Yeah. This dude, what's his fucking name? Han. He's got like the look that he needs to have to convey the character that he is, I would say.
Yeah, I agree.
This show has... I really like the designs because they are varied and like just have a lot of personality in a way that like is obviously uncommon to anime. Like,
I just love that fucking opening motorcycle sequence when the girl teams up unexpectedly and is riding Jean on the bicycle. Like, and her design's great too.
With anime, you usually either get really attractive characters that all look pretty much the same, or characters with variety, but none of them are like striking. This show actually accomplishes both. Like it is as good as any shonen, any proper long running shonen manga in that regard. It like the characters are varied and stylized.
It's got the classic fighting game like people from different cultures having like their cultural iconography on.
True.
Like, Tai Chi guy has a Chinese.
It's nowhere near over the top with it though. Except
it's a little more subtle.
It is a little generic. I mean, Jean and Han are both very boring looking. They've got like the spiky hair.
Well,
like,
they're the high schoolers.
Yeah, they're Korean high schoolers, so whatever. And then the other elephant in the room that I talked about several times as we were watching, they've got the tumbler nose glow. They've got that weird thing where their noses...
Everybody has a little bit of nose pinkness.
And no, you say everybody. No. And I talked about this
all
before.
Main characters.
The
Anybody
main
with the
characters...
Will of D has
the main characters have like the nose glow. But the thing is, because this was clearly made in like, the background characters were made, as fast as possible. They weren't worried about... Like, the background characters and less important just don't have it. So our characters even more just look like they all have colds by comparison, which is just kind of weird. And I know that it was in the original... They just should have gotten rid of it because I don't like it. Maybe it looks better in the manga. I'm not a fan.
It doesn't bother me.
This guy looks exactly like Ichigo.
I like that they have like kind of oddly big noses or like extra bridged noses for anime characters. Like you see, there's like girls with big noses in this show in a way I have not quite seen it done before. That I was like, hey, they managed to make that girl have a big nose and it not look ridiculous. But that's all I have to say about it. Overall, I would say that this show, like, it's so ridiculous and over the top and bombastic and fast that it's hard to really have any expectations for it because you have no idea where it's going.
Yeah.
I mean, like, episode 5 is probably the only thing we know what will happen in episode 5 at least.
They're gonna
fight.
These
guys are gonna fight.
It
will probably be hype. This show is like very hype beast material. It fucks with your expectations, but only to make you more hype, never to make you less hype.
Yeah.
So like, I guess the question is like, will it stay interesting after the first arc? What are the bad guys actually doing? Will it be ridiculous or will it be interesting?
A lot of big questions. I don't expect particularly deep or interesting script. I just need it to make sense and provide a platform for more cool fights. That's all I need, and I will be thrilled. The best thing about this show so far is that it has not wasted my time. Yeah. And this isn't even the worst thing about the show, but the thing is, it has emphasized the speed factor to such a degree that sometimes it does kind of skip over things I think it should actually take a minute and just answer a couple of questions or spend a little more time on a thing or two. But that, I mean, compared to a show that takes too long, every day of the week I will take going too fast over going too slow. So
I've been consistently entertained.
Yeah, no doubt.
And as long as that remains true, I'll be like down.
I want to briefly touch on like I think there's some real cultural significance of this show coming out now in the fact that it's so Korean. Yeah. Like it takes place in Korea, in Seoul. It's all the characters have Korean names.
Far, at least.
It is a Korean manga animated by a Japanese studio, and I think it is
from a Korean director as well.
Yeah, Korean director too. I think it's an important milestone in like being the first really great show to come out of the webtoon manhwa world, and to be like created by a Japanese who are historically incredibly racist against Koreans.
Well,
they now have the cultural.
Aren't we all at the end of the day?
But like
no one's more racist against Asians than other Asian people, as they always say.
Like this and also Brand New Animal are kind of on this forefront of bridging anime out of just being a Japanese. I mean, Japan Sinks as well.
I mean, in Japan Sinks, I would say that the express text of that show is anime is dying. Yeah. You need to jump ship and get other cultures involved, or else we can't. Like Japan is not enough to keep anime afloat.
And there's interviews with both the director of BNA and with the woman who's the head of Science Saru saying literally that, saying anime needs to.
It's explicitly true. I mean, like
China,
the Chinese anime industry is at this point putting out like higher quality production on animation than Japan. Like, Modao Zushi was a better looking TV show than any Japanese anime from 2018 when it came out, So, like, like, those places are hungry to make something. they're probably working under like even worse conditions and trying to make something that is even as good as the Japanese industry, which is already not good. So it is kind of like, I see it as like Japan's incentive to work with them is like, hey, like instead of you trying to copy what we're doing, which already is not ideal. Yeah. Let's all do it together and see if we can like kind of make up for each other's weaknesses. It
reaches a broader audience. Young people in Japan are very into Korean culture. I saw this when I was there. I was staying in Koreatown in Tokyo.
I mean, it's like all of Asia is heavily affected.
All of the young people are obsessed with BTS and like all of that. Like South Korea is on a huge rise, and it's like the new generation of people are more like...
South Korea is the cultural leader of Asia, I think, right now, even more so than Japan.
So it's like more unification between these places so that the next generation can kind of move forward with that sort of progress. And then like these things can blow up across the world, you know? And it's like this, I think, is a huge milestone in terms of like the height of that quality coming through, because like Tower of God was the same situation. That was the first webtoon to ever be made into an anime, you know, the first manhwa to be made into an anime, and people kind of saw that as a milestone.
It seems insane, right?
It seems like people were saying like maybe it's happened in
I don't think it's the first one, but like there definitely have not been many. Like it trips me out because like,
and I think it's the first big property.
Yeah, like Korean manhwa started coming to America like alongside manga. Back in the 2000s, so it was always like I always kind of expected there to be anime out.
I've read a bunch of very popular and very well regarded manga over the years, like Shin Angyo Onshi, Veritas. I don't know those. Any of those.
I'm not super knowledgeable about
Shin Angyo Onshi. I think had an OVA.
It did get an OVA. That's right. That's right. Okay, so there's one, but that was a fantastic series. But
never listen to what people on the internet are saying.
The consciousness though is fucking it's coming into. Oh,
it's definitely happening. I mean, obviously Chinese
and the fact that
anime
you know that
already.
this is Korean, you know, and that it takes place. They in Korea,
rub it in your face,
like Lala's here now.
Hello, Lala. Bring her into the show.
I don't want to touch.
Because people were talking about that with Tower of God, but Tower of God was more dog shit and divisive, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Whereas this is kind of like, this is pretty good. Like, I think this is going to have some staying power.
She doesn't want to be in the video.
She's like, this is low effort content.
Well, any closing thoughts? I mean, I will give the show, I was thinking about it before, I think I want to give it basically, like, it might have been a 9, maybe, if kind of some of my things about, like, skipping over content didn't happen, and maybe things were a little more consistent in episode 4. I feel like a pretty solid 8 is where I've arrived at for the show.
I'm on a clean 8 that could easily, like, this is the type of show where, again, I have so little expectations about where it's going to go.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll, like, I could easily see it dropping to a 6 or a 7. I could easily see it jumping to a 9 or a 10 across multiple seasons.
As I always do, I am afraid. Okay, episode 1, 2, and 3 were basically the best episodes so far. And there's that 3-episode rule that I've noticed where it seems like they really put their effort and lots of stuff happens in 1, 2, and 3. If the episodes are just... like, if they're all like 4, I'll be happy. But if they get a little bit more or they, you know, a little drop off of like the fights and the action slows down, then I will be like, okay, then it will drop off. So I just hope the energy has been so consistently high, and I absolutely love that. So I just hope that they keep it going the whole time. And I mean, the fact that that 4th episode had those things when I was like, I was getting a little worried, and then it did deliver. Yeah. If they keep doing that, then I'll be a happy camper.
OP delivered.
Yep. It could go up if they just do this well or better, and it ends with some like amazing fights at the end of the arc or something. I hope it gets there. Vic, what do you think? Agreed?
Score? Do you have a score for the first 4
I'm not good with scores. But like, I mean, I can't imagine it's going to go to shit, you know?
I can imagine it.
Like it'll be...
I can imagine it, but it feels, it does feel
It depends on how it goes to shit,
like,
you know?
Yeah.
It, like, on the one hand, the show feels too smart to me to go to shit. On the other hand, I feel like it depends on how much the author, like, cares about each thing. Like episode 4, like, that new character just felt so kind of... It just felt so left field to me that it left me kind of wondering, like, was this just, like, thought up on the spot? Was this, like...
So I wonder...
How much forethought was put into introducing this character into the narrative? You know?
I wonder how much of...
Maybe he'll be back, and maybe it'll be, like, a whole fucking thing. And maybe I'll have no reason to be worried
Like, I'm wondering if the production of the anime is elevating the source material.
That's a good question.
Where, like,
I think
maybe
it's more likely than it's skipping shit over. Like,
I'm not sure.
Maybe.
I'd have to look at it, you know?
Well,
because it almost does have that, like,
You're going to learn in our comments, I'll tell you that.
Like, yeah, that's one of the things that the commenters are going to fucking know everything, and none of this matters. But
I mean, you know, as is the case with every adaptation, every show, like, at the end of the day, everything about a show comes down to, like, how it's adapted, what the pacing is like, that the director keeps it. And my fear is just that, like, it really is kind of an economic one, that they just put, there's only so much effort to go around. And of course, you could devote 90% of your resources and make an entire show.
I'm impressed with how much animation is even in the show, period, at this
I agree.
Like,
I agree.
This is an amount of Sakuga that many shows would not have.
What we've seen so far is a product I would recommend to almost anyone who likes anime. But there will be a question of, like, does the whole anime stay good? And,
I mean, this is MAPPA. They did, you know, Shingeki no Bahamut, which the first 4 episodes are incredible, and then it's like, I wouldn't even watch past that point. I'd just be like, just watch the first 4. They're great.
And like, of course, Yuri on Ice as well, which is amazing.
And, which I would say was consistently good, but it is another case
or at least
of,
has
like,
highlights of
certain episodes are like, and then other episodes are like, that's a lot of reused footage that I know I've seen before.
But still, so much love in, like, the backgrounds of Yuri on Ice and stuff, but whatever. Anyway, that's it, everybody, for this episode of KHANTEHNT!
Make sure you use the description to find the things that you need to know to do the things that you have to do, bitch! Do it!
More episodes are coming soon, and they will be there.
Oh, the next one will be, the date that it is coming out will be on screen, I guess. Okay. We'll figure that out.
Sure,
and, it will be the first 4 episodes of Deca-Dense.
Deca-Dense.
So watch the first 4 episodes of Deca-Dense before this date, and you'll be ready for KHANTEHNT!
All right, see you.